Hi there, I'm Steve Nygren, founder of Serenbe. You know, for a lot of Americans, life just isn't working the way it should. We're more stressed, anxious, and disconnected than ever. Many people feel left behind by the economy, let down by institutions they once trusted, and overwhelmed by the scale of environmental challenges. Much of this comes down to something simple: where and how we live. When we reinvest in our communities and rethink the way we build and connect with one another, we open the door to healthier, more meaningful lives, not just for ourselves, but for the future generations. That's what my book, Start in Your Own Backyard, Transforming Where You Live with Radical Common Sense, is about. It offers a practical, hopeful roadmap for creating places where people of all ages can thrive, where everyday life is infused with beauty, purpose, and connection. The book is here to spark ideas, offer guidance, and remind you that big change really can start small. Start in Your Own Backyard is available now wherever you buy books. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simply begin right where we are.
Long before she ever set foot in Serenbe, Brandi Whitney heard about it as a place where farm to table wasn't just a trend, but a way of life. After years in culinary school, working in kitchens, and building her own farm-to-table restaurant, Brandi found herself drawn beyond cooking towards something more elemental: growing the food itself. Her path to Serenbe was years in the making, and what began as an early fascination with sourcing ingredients evolved into a desire to work the land, connect directly with the soil, and serve her community in a more tangible way. When the opportunity to work at Serenbe finally came, it felt like everything had aligned. Today, as Serenbe Farms manager, Brandi brings the full circle perspective to her work. She's not only growing organic produce, but she's also cultivating a deeper connection between the land and the people it feeds. From managing the weekly farmers market to leading farm operations, she's helping shape a local food system rooted in transparency, education, and community. In today's episode, Brandi and I are joined by Serenbe's HOA manager, Amy Peterson, for a conversation all about the farm, from the simple benefits of getting your hands in the soil to the many reasons to join a CSA and build a relationship with the people growing your food.
I knew then I didn't want to cook anymore. I knew that somehow, some way, I wanted to do something with land, farming or something like that, or get into the community aspect of helping people that have food insecurities. That was like my passion. And so then came John getting a job at Serenbe, and I was so jealous because I knew that was like my dream job of working there in some capacity. And I was like, if you don't take this, I will be so upset.
Welcome to Serenbe Stories. We are so excited today. We have Brandi Whitney here. She is our farm manager, but we also have a super special guest, Amy Peterson, who some of you have heard from on the podcast in the past. She's also known as HOA Amy. Garni couldn't join us today and Steve's out of town, so Amy has stepped in, and we're really excited to have this conversation. So Brandi, welcome. Amy, thanks for jumping in.
Hello.
Yeah, so as you guys know, to kick it all off, we always want to know what your Serenbe story is. So what is your Serenbe story? How did you first discover Serenbe, and what ultimately led you to our farm?
So about 15 years ago, I found out about Serenbe just from word of mouth because I was in the culinary farm-to-table restaurant genre. And so I always kind of wanted to go there. I always knew of it. I had never gone there, but I have read articles and read up on it. And I just knew that it was somewhere I was hoping that I would end up somehow, some way I would end up at Serenbe.
Let me jump in as you're telling us your story because I'm super curious about the culinary side. What were you doing? Were you in a restaurant? Were you a home chef? Were you cooking? Like, tell me how you even got into that.
So for me, John and I, we went to
Your
culinary
husband?
school together. My husband, John, and I went to culinary school together. Well, let me back up. I was at a 4-year college as a pre-law major. And we used to work in this winery that was very farm to table. And that was probably the first introduction that I had to what farm to table really meant. So we worked there for about a year. And after that, I just knew that I needed to shift. My intention was to cook farm to table food for people. And so I shifted everything and we went to culinary school. So we went to culinary school for a year and then we did an externship for a year. So my externship was in Vermont at a farm to table women's health facility, women's health spa, I guess is what you would call it. From there, especially in Vermont, where everything is farm to table, I started to meet different farmers. I would go to their farms. I would go milk cows. I would help with maple syrup out of the trees, which was amazing. So I think that kind of rooted me into the culinary world of farm to table.
The huge shift from law, thinking you were going to go into law.
I know. But this fits me so much better. So as I did that, when we got out of our culinary externship, we moved back to St. Louis and I did do the corporate. I did go to the Ritz-Carlton. I worked there for a while, the Seven Gables, did that for a while. And then I became a mama of 3 boys. So I stayed home and John did culinary for a little bit and then he went into the military. And then we moved to Georgia as one of his duty stations. And we started to do meal prep, farm to table meal prep for people. And it just kind of increased into something that I had 300 to 400 clients. So it was so big that I needed a restaurant. So I designed this farm to table restaurant.
Where was it in Georgia?
In Columbus, Georgia. It was called Bare Roots Pharmacy.
Amazing.
And that's where I started to really dig into knowing where my food was coming, knowing who the farmers were, what their stories were, how they produced their food. I would go on farm visits before I even said that I would have them in my restaurant. And that's kind of where that grew. And I did that for a few years. And then we moved to Peachtree City and I started another meal prep business. And then from there, I kind of got out of it a little bit because I knew then I didn't want to cook anymore. I knew that somehow, some way, I wanted to do something with land, farming or something like that, or get into the community aspect of helping people that have food insecurities. That was like my passion. So in came John getting a job at Serenbe. And I was so jealous because I knew that was like my dream job of working there in some capacity. And I was like, if you don't take this, I will be so upset. So, and then probably about maybe a year into it, every day I was like, will you please just talk to somebody about getting me on? And then finally I got the opportunity and walked Amy. And she asked me to be the farmer's market manager. And I was like, yes. It was almost like everything was coming together. And so when I interviewed, I said, I would love to take that position, but I also want to have that connection between the farm and the market because I thought that was a really important connection. So I started to work on the farm. And then from there, it's kind of like it snowballed from there. And now I am the farm manager and market manager.
And we're so very lucky to have you on board.
Well, as I am with you too.
100%. No, we have seen so many transitions at the farm and the market. And at one point, our team took over the market and the farms originally kind of ran it. And it is a huge job. So I really admire what you're doing. I mean, beyond, working on a farm, which I want to talk more about, but the market itself is a huge lift. And you've done such an incredible job
Thank you.
and just totally leveled it up, which is so exciting.
So, Brandi, we're all just super curious to know, what is the difference between cooking the food and growing the food?
Ah, good question. Cooking the food, even though I was very passionate about where my food came from, for me personally, I want more of that. Like, I almost want, even if I would have stayed as a chef, I would have wanted my own farm to harvest that day my food. I want my hands in the dirt. I want that connection between the community that I'm feeding and the land that I'm growing it on. And that's why I love Serenbe so much, is because I have that here. I have that connection between the community inside Serenbe and outside. I have the connection to the land. I know who I'm growing for, and they know who is growing for them. And it's a personal connection for me on both parts. And I feel very lucky to be able to be a steward of that land and the food that I produce for the community.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that probably all of your background just so informs what you're doing, because you can then, to your point, educate people on how to use the food, the vegetables that are coming out of the ground. Because I think sometimes you get your CSA, which is the community supported agriculture, farm share, we kind of call it, and you pick up all these veggies and you're like, I don't think I've ever cooked an eggplant before. Or what is this strange shaped round thing that they call a radish? And so understanding what to do with it, I think, is a huge part of it. One thing that, we just hear and we're reading, all the time and hearing from people is that people are looking for like a more tangible experience in life, beyond looking for purpose or passion. They want something that they can, get more into nature, into their bodies, get off screens. And I think, farming and the opportunity to get your hands in the dirt offers a way to do that. And so for people listening, tell us how they can get involved and support the farm and just come out to the farm, because there's a couple different ways.
Sure. There's many different ways to be connected to the farm. One is joining the CSA. It's a great first step. It creates a weekly connection between the farm and the individual or the community. So what I think makes our CSA so special is that it reflects everything we value as farmers, like thoughtful organic practices, seasonality, and really just a true connection to the land. So each share is a mix of fresh, nutrient-dense produce that we've harvested at its peak and grown with care for both the soil and the community. And by joining the CSA, it's more than really just produce. It's about being part of something. You're supporting the farm from the start of the season, which helps us purchase seeds or be able to repair equipment. So not only do you get freshly harvested organic produce, and you're helping the farm at the beginning of the season, but you're also getting that close relationship to your food, to the land, and to the farm, and to the farmers that grow it. So it's a simple, meaningful way to bring that connection into your everyday life. We also have volunteer opportunities to come to the farm to get your hands in the dirt. I can't tell you how many times I've kind of had a hard week personally, and just getting into the soil and the community of other volunteers, our farm team, just having that camaraderie of being there together on the land. It also allows you to see what's in season, kind of giving you the aspects of how a farm runs seasonally and what tasks are, what we do on a daily, just to know where your food is coming from, and that connection of how hard it is sometimes to farm. And it gives you a deep respect as to what goes into the full aspect of farming, especially organic farming. And I think that at the end of it all, I always I didn't realize how hard it is to produce food or to grow food.
Yeah. I mean, I think my limited attempts at even doing tomatoes in my backyard, in Georgia's a tougher climate too.
Yeah.
Because of the heat and the rain and the
rain,
bugs and the
Yeah, it definitely. And we also have like workshops, classes. We always try to do things that we think will educate the community or consumers, like cooking, or we did like a fermentation class with daikon radish. We're doing a microgreens class. And so there's different ways to just slow down. Sometimes your life is so crazy. And I think the farm, even though it is fast paced, but it isn't at the same time. Like you can get your hands in the soil, you can just breathe. There's birds always chirping. There's amazing bugs around, so it's like you can really get into the land. And I think it just kind of decompresses you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and Amy, we've gone over as a team, right?
Yeah. And done some volunteering. And actually just this past week, there was a large group of volunteers there on Wednesday morning. And it was pretty exciting because when you go to the grocery store, I think it really just disconnects you with all of the steps and planning and all the things that go into actually producing the things that you buy at the grocery store. So this last week, we prepared an entire bed with the volunteers and planted asparagus, which is a really cool, and I had no idea how that even grew. Like, it just never even occurred to me. I love asparagus. I buy it from the grocery store all the time. But the fact that we can put this in the ground now, and it's a perennial vegetable that will literally come up for potentially the next 10 years. It's fascinating. So my mind was kind of blown by just that little experience that we had this week.
How does it grow? That's a great kind of thing to think about. Is it it has to be a seed, right? That's a really stupid question maybe, but
yes,
okay.
It does start as seed, but we purchased crowns, 2-year-old crowns, because the more mature it is, the quicker it will be to produce spears. So what it looks like is an octopus. That's the easiest way I think I can explain it. And you have to trench down, and then you mound within the trench. You mound this little mound, and then you put the tentacles over it, so it kind of flows over, and then you cover it up, and then you water it, and it just grows.
It grows up every year,
and it's completely covered to start.
Yes, it's completely covered to start. Like 8 to 10 inches down. Like, it's really down. It's far down in the trench.
So it's almost like a bulb. Like
kind of.
I mean, like a tulip.
Like a bare root or something like that when you would buy like a plant or something from the store that's like ready to grow, but it's just the roots of it basically.
Does anything else plant like that?
I mean, we just planted elderberry, like it was just the bare roots and it had one stem. And so now it's, now it has green on it, which was amazing. Like in 2 days, it was flowering. But
so cool.
Asparagus is very unique in that way.
And so so when you plant one of these little octopus things, how many spears will you get out of a typical plant like that?
You can get multiple.
Okay.
So you'll cut them, and then they'll grow back, and then you can cut them again. You can usually get about 4 to 5 different cuttings off of each spear, off of each plant. So, and then it can go for 10 to 15 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And it's very low.
How many did you plant? I'm just like, want to eat asparagus. I'm like, how many, and this may be not interesting to anybody, but I'm like, how many did you plant? Is it only going to be for the CSA? Like when you plant something special like that, will you have enough to sell at the market? Or again, you need to be in the CSA to...
For right now, it'll be a CSA special item. We won't even harvest off of it until next year.
Okay.
It won't even be produced until next year.
Okay.
So in next spring it'll start producing, and it might not produce enough. But, for our CSA, we really love to create special little experiences for the members outside of just what we will do for the basic lettuce, onions, tomatoes, carrots. Because we want them to have an experience, and we want them to be able to ask us, how do you cook this? What is this? And I love that part of it too, the education part of it. Like sunchokes is another one. It was really exciting to be able to tell people it's just like a potato, roast it just like a potato, or you can puree it like a mashed potato.
Okay. Look at that. See, I'm learning stuff even how many years I've been here. So the other things that you guys do are farm tours, and those are weekly on Saturdays after the market.
Yes.
But you also will do them for groups. So if a corporate group wanted to come, or a garden club, or a school, that's all available. How does that happen?
Every Saturday, we have a public tour. So it's from 2 to 3 after the market. And if you're just at Serenbe for the day and you want to experience the farm in a tour, you show up, and usually it's me, and I'll just take you around for an hour, and we start in the greenhouse. We'll go all the way around. We'll talk about the bees that we have on the farm for pollination. We'll talk about the amazing composting system that we have. And so it's really in depth. I like it to be hands-on. So we'll harvest a few things. They'll taste it, like carrots, radish, microgreens. And then we'll just kind of walk around. And then at the end, I always do offer, if we have it left over after the market, if they want to purchase produce that was harvested on Friday for Saturday market, they can also do that as well.
That's super cool. Tell me, do you get requests from people or outside groups that need a lot of produce, or they want a specialty item like asparagus or flowers? Does that ever happen?
I guess coming from a culinary background, I've kind of honed in on talking to the chefs more often, seeing what they have on their menu, what they're looking to have on their menu. Another avenue that we're kind of exploring is to start growing for florists as well. So I've been talking to a few florists to see what things that they produce and how I can help them produce more, or be able to produce for them. So right now, for instance, for Austin, we are growing specifically their little gem for their Caesar salad. Another thing is that we've partnered with a couple of different flower farms or florists here. And so we're going to plant a bunch of dahlias because that is what they need most of.
That's incredible. I want to touch on the certified organic, because I know that is, a big deal. Serenbe Farms was one of the first, early certified organic, but I also know that it's a pretty big lift. I'm on the board of Georgia Organic, so I'm very aware of the statistics of getting, certified. And sometimes that can be a real barrier for farms. And we don't need to debate the pros and cons of it, but I would be really curious, because I think it's important for people to understand sort of organic, regenerative is a word that we're hearing a lot of, or natural, but really, I would love your opinion, because I think obviously if you can do organic, we should do organic. It's super fabulous and important. And obviously it provides a higher premium, and people understand what the label is. But for people who are just going to a farmer's market or going to a farm, what would be the important things you should be doing or looking for beyond the label, right? Because we just want to support farmers, right? People who are local farmers who are doing great work. What should a consumer be looking for or asking the farmer about their methods?
Well, for firsthand for me, when I was a chef, when I went and I visited different farms, the first thing that I always asked was, what kind of fertilizer are they using? What practices of regenerative farming were they doing? I wanted to see it, especially with meat. I wanted to see that they were going from pasture to pasture. I also wanted to make sure that there was no GMO feed. It was all organic feed for us. I wanted to know in the vegetable world that it was organic. I wanted to know that how they fertilized, what was their pest suppression methods, and that sort of thing. For me, organic is so much easier and has so many aspects and so much cheaper because we're not buying the expensive fertilizer or the pesticides. If I have a pest control, I'm getting ladybugs. So last year we released 7,000 ladybugs because we needed it at the farm. Those are the kind of things that we do at our farm now. We'll start with our fertilizer is fish emulsion or worm tea. So both of those are OMRI certified. They have to be certified. They have to be approved. We do rotation of crops. So no crop is in the same place within a year of it, of planting it. So if I had tomatoes in the high tunnel, they're not going in this year in the high tunnel. Another thing that we do is cover cropping, which we did a lot of. And I love our cover crop recipe because we have 6 to 7 biodiverse seeds. So each one of them is entering a different nutrients into the soil, which is amazing.
Yeah. And I think that people don't realize when you're buying produce from the grocery store, especially if it's conventional, meaning not organic, regenerative, or local. I mean, people can do local and have a lot of chemical inputs. You potentially are having all these chemicals that you're getting into your body, but you're also not having a lot of vitamins in your body because of the length of the transportation. Every mile that that vegetable travels, it's losing its vitamin efficacy, if you will. And then you're also the soil health is directly related to the vegetable, how much, nutrients are in it, which again, very obvious, we're putting that in our bodies.
Right.
But we don't
Absolutely.
sometimes connect the dots. And so it's super important to think about supporting farmers, local farmers, whether you're buying directly from the farm or you're going to a farmer's market and buying there, or really looking for an organic regenerative label. It's just, we just come, these huge manufacturer farming, they're not even producing anything. They're producing soybeans. It's not even real food. It's crazy. So that's a whole nother
Yes, and that's commodity farming, right? Where they're not tending to their soil, they're just putting stuff on top of it so that it will still produce some sort of produce or whatever, but it's not at a high standard and it's not at a nutritionally dense standard either.
Right.
So we tend to our soil like it is the lifeline of the farm.
Right.
Because if it's not amazing, then we're not growing in it.
Exactly. And I think that one of the things is, this goes back to, getting involved with the farm, but I think coming and volunteering or coming and doing a tour, you can learn so much more. Like there's way more to discuss than we can even get in with our time. So we'll definitely put a link in the show notes for that.
So we do have our big plant sale, our spring plant sale coming up very soon, April 25th, I do believe. And that's a great opportunity to get some organic vegetables for your own garden. Brandi, do you want to tell us a little bit about what we can expect to see at that sale?
Sure. We'll have tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, lettuce. We'll have 4 packs of herbs. We'll have fig trees. We'll have all the basics that you need to start your own garden, kind of like what Steve says, start in your own backyard. So we'll have all that for you.
Love it. I do, just because of our limited time, want to wrap up on the question we always ask everybody at the end, which is, if somebody was visiting Serenbe for the first time, what's the one thing you would tell them that they absolutely can't miss, obviously, besides the farm, of course? What would you suggest?
For me, there's not one place in Serenbe that I would say go here specifically. For me, it's more of like unwind, wander, be curious, go on the trails, go in the woods, just sit, be quiet all around Serenbe, because what you have here is so amazing and so magical that not one single place is better than any other here. It's like you could be grounded everywhere here. And that's amazing. It's so intentionally designed that you can go anywhere and feel grounded here and just relaxed.
Yeah, there's something about the land.
Yeah, there is. It's definitely, it's like a shift when you're here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like being on vacation and not being on vacation.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
It's awesome.
Well, Brandi, thank you so much for your time. I know it's hard to get away from the farm, and we sort of dragged you away. There's so much going on. I know it's in the middle of the day. So I really, really do appreciate your time. And I'm going to encourage all of our listeners to get out, come see the farm, come to our Saturday farmers market, volunteer, or just, move here. And then HOA Amy can be your HOA Amy too. So thank you, Amy, also for jumping in and supporting us today.
You bet. Anytime.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Inn at Serenbe is a luxury retreat tucked away in the rolling countryside just outside Atlanta and just minutes from Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. With over 1,000 acres to explore, you'll find preserved forests, a wildflower meadow, and over 15 miles of scenic hiking trails. Whether you're exploring the animal village, lounging by the pool, or enjoying a fresh farm-to-table meal, there's no shortage of ways to unwind at the Inn at Serenbe. Use code Serenbe Stories when you book online or over the phone and receive 10% off your next stay. The Inn at Serenbe offers endless ways to connect with nature and create unforgettable memories, so book today.